Growing up, I was like you. I didn't have a son, but I was still, trying to drop gems to my daughter by telling, hey, don't pick your partner about what he has. I say, you pick your partner on how he treats you. And I say, and vice versa. If you find someone who is genuinely has a liking for who you are, not trying to change you. You saying save them, you do everything, not trying to change you, but she like you. I say you reciprocate that with him.
Welcome back to Relationship Talk with Juanito and my boy Big G. Big G, what's happening?
What's going on, my man? How you doing today?
Hey man, I'm good. It's Wednesday, it's hump day. 2 more days before we get to the weekend.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, you see I'm supporting my veterans Falcons hoodie.
I see that. I didn't have another veterans, so I just throw my LSU on, baby. We're going through war down there right now. We looking bad.
Hey, my Bulldogs looking good though.
Yeah, they
look good.
baby.
Their record look good. I don't necessarily know if they look good during the games. I mean, they beat up Mississippi State like they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Speaking of sports, bro, are you tracking the Shedeur Sanders situation out there in Cleveland?
Oh yeah. It's a situation where when you know a person don't really mess with you, don't like you, this is how it happens, and that's what's going on. That man don't rock with Shedeur.
Listen, bro. Hey, he don't rock with Shedeur at all. Like, my wife is a Colorado Buffs fan, right? That was who she initially started. She's from Belize, and that was who she initially started watching football.
Yeah.
You know, because I was watching football like all the time, and she watches a lot of shows on like Prime and all these other things, and so she saw the Prime show, and so she started watching that, got hooked on Colorado football, and now she's a Buff fan. So by virtue of her being a Buffs fan, I was watching it too. I got hooked into it, and so I became a Shedeur Sanders fan, a Travis Hunter fan, and all that. And so I've been tracking from the NFL draft all the way up to today, and it has been a hot, stinking pile of shit out there.
Yeah.
So, like, I was listening to it today, and the radio hosts out there in Cleveland are like, "Yo, why won't he say his name?" Like, they asked a point blank question about when are they going to be looking to start Shedeur Sanders, and Coach Stefanski went on this diatribe where he said a whole bunch of nothing, but just refuses to answer a direct question and say the man's name.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember, Bill Parcells did that about my boy T.O., Terrell Owens. He did the same thing. He wouldn't mention his name. He always called him the player. And reason why? Because Bill didn't like him. And here it is again in the NFL, another coach who don't like a person saying he's not going to mention his name.
I think it's interesting, right? As a believer in God, right?
Yeah.
I've seen God do some weird and interesting things in my own life to make way for me to get out of a situation or to get into a certain type of situation.
Yeah.
And like, you start looking at how things are transpiring, Coach Dayball out in New York got fired. Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett got moved on. Dylan Gabriel looked like hot garbage. Like, bruh, he looks bad. Bruh, like, you could probably go pick up any high school football player with a decent arm and throw him out there and he look better. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I be watching the game just waiting for Shedeur to get in there. How he get in there, I don't really care. But I be waiting. Just because I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I believe that he elevates people.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see it. What's your thoughts about it?
Um, I believe that Cleveland overreached. You know what I'm saying, when they were talking about Dylan Gabriel. No way he was evaluated as a third round pick. He was the one rated as a fifth and sixth round pick. Um, as we're seeing with Kyler Murray in Arizona, he's too small, man. They got it listed as 6'1". No way that kid is 6'1". Um, he's probably about jit 5'10", 5'11", maybe scratching surface of 6 feet with the cleats on. But he's just a young man who he means well. He just can't make the throws. And Stefanski, the head coach, he's one of those guys that says, this is the guy I chose. I didn't choose Shedeur. And until I'm no longer the coach, this is what I'm doing. And so he's going to die on that hill. So we most likely won't be seeing Kevin Stefanski next year because he's allowing his pride. And pride is men's kryptonite because pride allows you to feel like, hey, if I get disrespected, I'm gonna do something to you. Pride won't allow you to love someone. Pride is a man's kryptonite. And we got to start teaching our young men about getting over that pride. And this is what it is. This is a prideful man. Don't want to convert to a different individual due to the fact that he's saying, this is my guy. And but I was talking to my partners at work a few weeks ago about this. And I said, we're literally watching a real life Willie Beamen. Shedeur is Willie Beamen.
Wait a minute. I didn't even. You know what? I got to go back and watch that so I can
Yeah.
make the reference.
Yes. And when Jamie was talking to the one of the what's the people call agents, he say, I come out of college, they draft me in the fifth round, trying to turn me into a cornerback, having me tackle 15 pounds.
I remember that saying from the movie.
Yeah.
I got to go back and I haven't watched that movie in so long, so I can understand the point of reference because I'm only getting snapshots of it right
Yeah.
now.
Well, the point of reference is he's there. He get drafted in the fifth round, just like Willie Beamen. He's sitting on the bench. He had some old quarterback in front of him, that's Cap, so that was Joe Flacco. Then he had another little semi kind of rookie sitting in front of him that they got in after Cap got hurt. So then Jamie, then he gets hurt. The middle guy, we're gonna say that's Dylan Gabriel. He gets in and just can't make any passes. He's throwing the ball all short over receiver's head. Then he gets hurt. Then they throw Willie in there, and Willie leads them on the touchdown drive. And all the fans start screaming, they want Willie, they want Willie. What the fans are screaming now in Cleveland, we want Shedeur.
Yeah, and you made an interesting point about, pride being his downfall. And, the thing is that we were actually having this conversation today. It's an unwillingness to admit that we made a mistake by drafting Dylan Gabriel.
Yes.
He won't be a good backup, but clearly he's not a franchise type of quarterback that you can build a team around. No. I think Shedeur has more qualities of a franchise quarterback, but he's still going to need some work as well because it's a different type of game from college to the NFL. And so if he could put his pride aside and just admit that they made a mistake and rally around Shedeur, I think he could elevate that team. And, pride is what kills a lot of relationships as well.
Yeah.
And so I know that there was a topic that you wanted to cover last week, and I think that's a good segue to get into that. So let's go with your topic, man.
All right, man. Oh yeah. So last week when we were discussing, I told you to pin this little situation about men and why do we allow our pride to have us chasing the wrong kind of love instead of chasing the right kind of love that we all say we want.
Okay. So give me an example of what you're talking about.
Well, example of what I'm talking about is about 6 hours ago, I posted my Wednesday isms, and I was basically the same topic. It was good love versus bad love. And I broke down what is good love. Good love is understanding. Good love is a leaning post for you and your partner. Good love is communication. Good love is allows you to stay focused on things that are at hand. Good love is there when you're sick. Good love is there when you're not feeling your best. Good love is there when you need someone to motivate you and push you. Now we have this bad love, and this is what a lot of us chase because bad love is attractive. And what I mean by that is we will forego everything that we say, especially us men. We'll forego everything that we say that we want for an attractive woman. She don't return your phone calls, or she keeps your text messages on red. She don't if you ask her to do something for you, she don't do nothing for you, but she's pretty. So you allow her to continue to not give you the things that you want and that you say that you want from a woman due to the fact that she is pretty. So that is bad love because it's not there for you. You're chasing that. You're chasing something that obviously does not want you in return.
I mean, so I think part of the problem for men is that society puts in front of us that they kind of set the beauty standard for what we believe a good woman is, right? And
Yeah.
they understand that we're visual creatures, and so that's why you get the skinny blondes, boobs, but swimsuit bikinis and all these other things that we see on a daily basis. So it imprints on our mind that that is what we should be going out for. But what I would believe is that men grow up thinking that that's what a good woman is. That's what she has to be beautiful. She has to be big boobs, big butt. And therefore, they don't pay any attention to the qualities of the individuals that they're chasing. And so, obviously, we're visual creatures. And so we see what we see from afar. But I don't think that we even take the time to even ask the right questions to get to know those individuals. And
Right.
so, I don't even think we're taught what type of questions that we need to be asking in order to figure out if this woman is of any quality. How do you make a decision on who's a good person for you and who's not a good person for you?
Well, that's a good question. How? Everybody have an answer till it's time to give an answer. And what I mean by that, we people got all kind of opinions until it's time to actually put that opinion to work. Uh, when it comes to women, I mean men, and being taught things, like you said, society has driven us. Society for the male not supposed to cry. When you growing, boy, you fall some, boy, get up. Don't say nothing. Don't, you bet not cry. That's from the father and some mothers too. They tell the kid, you bet not cry. A young man, you bet not cry. And so we are taught the typical man values and how to act as a man, but we're not taught how to relay that and form a relationship. The best way I know how to correct this is you got to see it. And we don't see a lot of two-parent households now. You don't see how mom treats dad. In some cases, you see, if you don't see your dad, you see your mom, and then 2 or 3 years she's dating James, then that breaks up. In 2 or 3 years, you see her with Brian, and then that lasts for a quarter minute. She don't get married, so you don't realize that these kids are seeing that. So subconsciously, it's like, okay, I spend this much time with a woman, then I can move on. I spend this much time with a woman, I can move on. Because a lot of kids learn, you know what I'm saying, not too much about being told, but they learn by seeing what's going on. You put a kid that's crawling in a daycare with kids that's walking, ironically, in probably about 2 to 3 weeks, that kid is going to start walking because they see the other little kids walking. You know what I'm saying? And so what a child sees and absorbs, because a child is a computer, it's a RAM. They absorb all this information. And so what they're seeing is they're not seeing stable relationships anymore. They're seeing Turn the page. Here's a new girl, new one, new man. So it's that's starting to play in their minds. Okay, I have a chance to be with this one. Okay, so we can move on to the next woman. And so until we correlate this and bring back the so-called nuclear family, this is going to be a thing that we're probably going to continue to see. You're going to see a man chase a woman because she's beautiful. Right? You have the so-called mid girl over here who's willing to do everything that she can to make him happy, but he's going to overlook that at first until something tragic happens to him. He gets down to his last dollar. Then he will be like, oh man. He gets injured in a car accident and realizes that who's going to be there for him. Until something tragic happens to a man, he don't realize that the pretty girl who is not being reciprocal with love that you're showing her, that's not the woman for you. And because the woman for you is going to make herself accessible to you, and vice versa. The man for you women are going to make himself accessible to you. And if you have to chase, if you have to prove, if you have to do everything else other than be yourself and give 100% of you, that's not the love that you should be chasing.
Okay, so I am on board with 100% of what you just said. However, what I would add to it is that I think the combination of education, like verbal education, is equally as important. And here's the reason why I say that is because things in society and in life are changing so fast at such a rapid pace that as a father, right, I have to be cognizant of what my son's generation is doing, right? Because he's a 15-year-old boy, right? And my 5-year-old son is going to be in a different spot when he hits 15 than my 15-year-old is now. So he watches me and his mother's relationship. He also watches me and my wife's relationship. But for him, what I was taught coming up is very different from what he's going to experience going into his 20s and 30s. And so I, as his father, have to have sit downs with him and educate him on how things are progressing and changing within the dating dynamics and the relationship dynamics for his age group, right? Because here's the mistake that was made for our generation. We were taught certain things by visual, right? As you stated, we saw how our parents interacted or didn't interact with each other. And that kind of set the foundation for our beliefs. So I'll use me as an example. I don't know my biological father, but I know my dad. My dad came into my life when I was 4 or 5, and he raised me and my sister. He adopted us when they got divorced, and he's been dad, right? But understand that we're not his biological children. We didn't come from him, but he raised us, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't have biological children of his own. So we're his only children. So in my mind, growing up, that was okay. It was okay for me to be accepting of a woman that had children until I dated a woman that had children. And although I had children of my own, her children had no discipline. To the point where I told her, I said, I don't think we're going to be able to continue to date because I can't bring my children around your children because I don't want my children acting like yours. And so I don't think that had I been taught what the reality of it is when engaging with women that have children, what type of things that you could potentially be running into or experiencing, I would have probably less likely been willing to jump into that. But in my mind, I remember that my father took on me and my sister, and he raised us. So it was acceptable. But in reality, it's really hard. It's really hard. And so, and keep in mind, that was from visual, right? There was no education done on that. And so it set me up for failure in that department.
Right.
And although that's a small department, because I really didn't date a whole bunch of women with children, it's just an example. Whereas now, and things were changing relatively slow during that time frame. Whereas now things are changing even faster with the advent of social media. And so I think adding in that verbal education piece is key for men to be able to make good choices in women.
Yes, and you were totally right on that. The verbal does matter. But as you acquiesced and you said that things are changing, these kids' attention spans are not like our attention span. My daughter, I can tell my daughter it's raining outside, get a raincoat. She growing up, she would, you know what I'm saying, even though we're close, for some reason when I said it, it didn't register. Her friend comes along, comes to the house and they both leave. Hey, Car, get your umbrella, it's raining outside. Okay. Wait a minute. Well, I told you, hey, baby, before you go outside, grab an umbrella. It's rain. I'm okay, Dad. But the friend comes in. Hey, Car, it's raining outside. Grab your umbrella. Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. So that's what I was trying to relate when I was saying that how they learn from their peers. With men, because when men get together, there is a hierarchy. And I know you probably captured this or seen this on Naked and Afraid. I love that show. Where they split the women up and the women couldn't find shelter and create fire and everything because they was debating on who's going to be in charge. Well, when the men was over there, one man stood up. He said, hey, you also go get this here. And there was no, you know what I'm saying, complaining about why you in charge. Right, I am the one I know a little bit about fishing. I know how to collect wood. So men do have a hierarchy. And with our hierarchy, we tend to set things in order for the ones who are following as from a leadership standpoint. And the missing point about that is that when these young men are not, I don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing women, but when they're coming from a single mother household, they don't learn these hierarchies. They learn the female's way of solving things, which is with questions. Well, why? Well, I don't know. Why should it do this? Why should it do that? Why do that? Why? Because women tend to ask why when they're being told or requested to do something, I'm saying, with their partner. And
it's
so
more of a egalitarian.
And so with not having the hierarchy that they're used to, those conversations are not going to be, to me, this is strictly my opinion, those conversations that they will get from an older generation. I see it a lot. Older gentlemen be trying to talk to these young kids about certain things, these young men, and they don't accept it. It's always, what do you know? What is this? And well, this person might not show that in his situation, it might look like he didn't do it, but the fact that he went through it and understands it, and he could tell you where he went wrong, so you don't go wrong, so you won't be wrong. But these kids come back with these questions. Why I have to listen to you? You old man, you ain't did this. So it's going to be hard to have these conversations with these young men now.
Well, I think that the important aspect, and you as a man and me as a man, we can attest to this. Your experience matters, and your ability to show or represent your experience matters, right? Because here's an example, right? If a guy walks up to you and tells you that he can help you make $1 million, but nothing about him gives you a signal that he can help you make $1 million, you are less likely to listen to him. But if he shows up in a fancy car, or maybe with a suit on, or if he looks like money, or smells like money, or he's got a bunch of chicks with him, right? Something that signals to you that he's legit, you're more likely to listen to what he has to say. So as men, as mentors, we have to make sure that what we're saying, we could back it up, that we could accurately represent what we're trying to convey to these young cats. Because the reality of it is that if you look fake, you sound fake, they're going to perceive you as being fake, whether you're legit or not. perception is everything, especially to this younger generation, because like you said, their attention spans are not very high. And so if you're not hitting them with the real that they can see and understand, they'll move on to somebody else.
Totally right.
And so your relationships that you have to convey that you know what you're talking about. Right? I've been married for almost 6 years, and I've been divorced after being married for almost 11 years. I've been suicidal. I have been depressed. I have been the nice guy and had to work my way out of that. I've been the blue pill guy that just got walked all over. I've been the simp. So all of these things that we talk about, I have the background to be able to talk about them. And I'm not afraid to tell you that, yes, I was a blue pill simp back in the day. Granted, it wasn't called that. It was something else, but I was he.
Captain Saver. What?
Actually, that's more accurate to what they used to call him.
That's
And
what
it's funny,
called.
right? I was having this discussion with my mom the other day, and we were talking about what I do as a relationship coach, and she was asking me why that was the route that I chose, and I kind of expressed to her why I thought that it was important to try to help people get into relationships. But one of the points that I brought up, I was like, you used to tell me, stop trying to fix these girls. Stop trying to get into relationships, or stop getting into relationships where you got to fix somebody. I didn't know what the heck she was talking about.
No, we
Right?
didn't.
All I knew is if I knew that there was a problem that I could fix, and I tried to fix it. Right? Because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And the reality of it is that I was trying to fix somebody that didn't want to be fixed. I was trying to, granted, down the road, it now helped me get into relationship coaching, which is essentially is helping somebody fix themselves. But I think about all of these things about how my mom would tell me I would come home crying as a kid because I would be like, I'm a really good guy. Why don't these girls like me? And my mom would be like, stop being a nice guy.
Chasing bad love.
I don't know what the hell that means. I couldn't curse at that time, but it was like, I don't know what the hell that means. Right. And it was like, because I was feeling contradicted. Right. Am I supposed to go be a bad guy? But I'm a respectable gentleman. So it was like this tug of war, back and forth thing that I struggled with for years until I finally figured out.
But what isn't it ironic? The good girls want the bad guys, and the good men want the bad girls. You see how ironic that is?
And
you see how ironic that is?
It's operating from this is my belief, right? I believe it's individuals operating from a lack of education. It's them being fed a belief that you as a man, you have to be the Prince Charming and come save the damsel in distress. And women are being taught that from an early age that he has to be Prince Charming and he has to be muscular and buff, and in order for him to be a good guy or be perceived as being attractive. Well, the vast majority of us don't look like none of them. Don't act like none of them. We're just simple, wholesome guys who want to take care of our family, who want to work hard and live very simple lives. And when you're in your 20s, because you don't know these things, you're out there chasing the wrong thing. And nobody's telling you otherwise. And because you fresh out your parents' block, you think you know everything. And so you don't want to listen to nobody telling you, don't go down there, right? Don't mess with that girl. You don't want to listen to that dude is bad news. And
man,
so
my mom growing up, you know what I'm saying, because she had me in church all the time. There was this one young lady, and she was a sweet young girl, but she wasn't on my attractive meter. And my mom used to always try to put me together with her. Oh, she's such a nice young lady. And she was a little fluffy. and, and your mom was always, you know what I'm saying, throwing it out there. Hey, she's such a nice young girl. Very respectable. And why don't you like her? Why don't you date her? And I was chasing the bad love. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why, but and I think to myself now, it's like, wow, that's one of those ones because I don't know if I forgot the name of the movie. It's something in Brooklyn. I'm saying where the little Italian kid he falls in love with the black girl, and one of his mentors is the mob boss, and so he tells the mob boss how he know that he got the right woman, and he tells you only get 3 loves in your whole life. You send true loves in your whole life, so you got to make sure you're there to accept. You able to see. And he gave the little thing. If the girl leans over and open the door, when you open the car door and gets in, she unlocks the door for you to get in. That lets you know that she's the one. And so I'm thinking to myself, damn, did I miss all 3 of mine? Did I strike out? and it's like, man. But now as an older gentleman, and that tends to be what happens as you become older, the things that's in that society and what you thought that you need, those are not what's important anymore. What's important now is companionship, actual true love, understanding. And if you can find that with someone, you know what I'm saying, at an early age, man, you so I am telling the young fellas, nah, hey man, I know she look cute, dog. I know she's a very attractive young lady. But if she's not pouring into you, you're trying to pour into her, that's a clear sign that that young lady is not the lady for you.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to be there when things get rough. And I know I know beauty is what a lot of young girls, young fellas want because we want to walk into a room and have other men saying, pound us up. Ooh, boy, you got a fuck. I get it. But what is a real flex when you walk into a room and the woman's on your arm is respectful, she's understanding, she's the kind of woman that can nurture your kids because chasing the wrong woman will have you in child support court, young fellas. Listen to me. Chasing the wrong woman will have you in child support court when they taking 42.2%.
Trust me, I know all about that.
And so you got to rewire, just like our women need to talk to these younger women and rewire them because it's the people that should be meeting and being together are going in opposite directions. And it doesn't look good for relationships going in the near future because women with these bloated expectations and these men saying, hey, I'd rather just not deal with the relationship. So we're looking like we're finna get into an era of nothing but situationships. What you think about it? Do you see that?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that's the path that we're on. And if there are some changes made, we will definitely find ourselves with people less likely to be in healthy relationships and or just not be in relationships altogether. Men are walking away from relationships in general because they don't find any value in it. There's an expectation that every man is supposed to be meet the triple sixes. And just the reality of it is that there's not enough spots out there for every man to be at that level, right? Not everybody could be king. Not everybody could be a part of a royal court. There has to be some peasants out there, right?
Yes.
And that's just the reality of it. But you do the best that you can. And it's interesting because I told my son this. I told him, I said, hey, don't worry about chasing after a woman. I said, and I told him, I said, understand this. Any woman that comes into your life, and you hit it on the head, any woman that comes into your life, make sure that she is given as much time, effort, attention to you as you give to her. You know, and the reason why we even had this conversation is because he was like, he asked me for some money to get this girl a birthday gift. And it's some girl that he was interested in. And I told him, I said, look, it's cool that you get this girl a birthday gift for her birthday, right? Y'all are friends, but keep it at a friendship level. And don't be looking to get her anything that just because she asked for it. You have to be cognizant of what she gives to you. So if she's calling you, if she's texting you, if she's interested in hearing your conversations or interested in engaging with you, or she gets you something for your birthday, then that means she has some genuine interest in you. But you have to allow her to show that to you. You can't just be one doing all of the giving. I don't even know if he talks to her anymore, but that was one little nugget that I dropped on him,
Yeah.
because that was something that I was never told. And I saw how that led me down a path of being used and abused. And so we as a society have to do a better job of resetting the expectations, the realistic expectations. Kind of like the conversation you and I had last time about, understanding, teaching people how finances work, right?
Yeah.
Understanding that you get into a marriage, unless y'all file married separately, your income gets reported as one. So that's
Yeah.
one income in the household. And so when you put two incomes together, it allows you to live a different life, right? If it's his money is my money and my money is my money, then there's only a certain lifestyle that you're going to be able to live.
Totally right.
Whether he's got a bunch of money or he don't got a bunch of money. And so we as a society have to do a better job of setting expectations. And in particularly for women, I think the older generation of women have to do a better job of educating the younger generation of women to the realities of what it is, instead of just allowing them to spew the nonsense that they do, and with the understanding that women are easily influenced by other women.
Right.
And that was one of the things me and my mom talked about, because she's getting into the coaching space as well. And she's like, I need to get out there and start educating these younger women on how to do better in their own individual lives so that they can set themselves up for success.
Right. And men talk, if you got daughters growing up, I was like you. I didn't have a son, but I was still, trying to drop gems to my daughter by telling, hey, don't pick your partner about what he has. I say, you pick your partner on how he treats you. And I say, and vice versa. If you find someone who is genuinely has a liking for who you are, not trying to change you. You saying save them, you do everything, not trying to change you, but she like you. I say you reciprocate that with him. I say don't worry about the aesthetics. I say because I'm saying if you only focusing on how cute a guy is, and that's going to be your determination of how he's going to be a good partner to be in a relationship with, I say you fail from the jump. I say I say don't look with the glasses on. You know what I'm saying? I say at the outer appearance, I say go deep. You know what I'm saying? If a guy likes you and he's putting forth the effort, you know what I'm saying, want to bring you flowers or saying, hey, can we go get a coffee? Can we go spend a little time in the park? And can we just talk? Can we do? And you see that the effort is to get to know you. I say, that's the gentleman you open your time up for. I say, but if you're the only person, but if you're liking him and I said, because I see it all the time. Young girls blowing up a guy's phone. I said, first off, I said, a young woman shouldn't be blowing up a man's phone. I said, from a courting standpoint, the man should always want to speak to you. And I say, so if they're just blowing up his phone, if you're saying, hey, can I spend a little time with you? Hey, do you want to go do this? And especially if you are a woman and I say, now it's okay to reciprocate paying for a date. I say, because hey, if he's paid for a few days, you say, hey, I see what you're doing. I see that you're putting forth effort. Now it's my turn. Let me take you out. I say, I get that. But if you're having to use your money to get to know him, baby, that's prime example. That guy is not interested in you. You're stroking his ego, and he's pulling you along to turn around and tell his boys, man, I got hoes. I got this chick. She called me. She doing anything for me. She let me use her car. Let me do that. You are being used. And I said, and the reason you're being used because you chose for a visual partner instead of a natural partner. So I've always tried to tell my daughter that don't, my daughter's a beautiful young lady. And I say, hey, and my first time meeting a little boyfriend that she has, whew, I said, damn, she took my words literally, didn't she?
I don't know what that means.
You know what that means? You know what I'm saying? But no, after meeting the young man, I was like, oh, I see why. I say she finally listened to me. Because the young man is very respectful. You know what I'm saying? He's kind. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He's everything that
You would want your daughter to have.
would want my daughter to have.
And it's funny because you talked about a dude driving her car. It immediately brought me back to my first duty station. There was this chick. I was not super interested in her, but she was interested in me, and she let me drive her car, and she had a nice car. And I drove her car around to some of my boys' house, and they was like, "Yo, whose car is that?" I was like, "Oh, that's this girl I'm messing with," and it just brought me back to that. I was not really interested in her like that, but she was trying to do for me to get me to be interested in her, and so I hadn't thought about that story in years, and that was during that phase where I was trying to figure out some things, and I was kind of trying to chase after the girls that was the hottest with not very much success, obviously, but she was okay, but she wasn't the type that I was.
What you want.
She wasn't the type that I was going for at that point in time. But now that I think about it, she was clearly interested in me like that. And I had never even thought about that up until this very moment when you brought that subject up. And so we as men talking to the younger generation have to educate them on these things. And I want to go back to something you said about when a woman walks into the room with you and she's respectful. This is one of the things that I learned is that men of means, men of a special caliber, right? Men that are quote unquote high value men by society within the male space. What I've learned is that those type of men can tell a lot about who you are as a person by how your woman treats you, how she talks about you. I think that there's a certain segment of women that don't want to talk about their men because they're afraid that other women are going to want him. But the reality of it is because you're with him, other women are going to want him. My wife talks about me all the time to her friends, almost to the point to where it's like her friends are like, yo, all you do is talk about your husband. But then when they meet me, they're like, man, your wife talks about you all the time. She tells us how great you are and all these other things. And so what does that do for me? That boosts my ego, right? But it also tells me that, my wife kind of likes me.
Yeah.
My wife buys me stuff periodically throughout the year. It's not like a birthday thing or, granted, she does buy birthday and Christmas gifts and stuff like that. But she also buy me things randomly. If she sees something that I like and she can afford it, she'll buy it. And so she spends her money on me. And it's not always me just giving and all that other stuff. Right. And so I think those are things that are important for guys to understand and realize when they're mate selecting. Because that's really all it is, right? If we strip it down to its purest form, it's mate selecting.
Right. Now, me and you both, been around the military, and we understand this now, especially at Scott, where we met each other at Scott Air Force Base. These generals.
All of them got trophy wives.
Not all of them, but
most of them got trophy wives.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, their wives look they have a certain aesthetic.
Aesthetic. That's right. But there are quite a few of these generals who have we go. We're just going to say average women. And so, why do you think a man who I'm saying general pay probably about 12 to 11 to $12,000 a month general pay, just estimate. Why would you think a man of that kind of means choose an average woman?
Well, 9 out of 10 times, that woman has been with them since they were a nobody.
Exactly.
And they've built something together. And she probably pours into him just as much as, you know, he pours into her, or probably less than, or she pours into him more than what he pours into her, just from the pure nature of what he does for his work.
Yes.
But she's a good wife. She's comforting. She takes care of the home. She's respectful. She's probably well versed in the community. You know, she sets the standard. She probably, as a wife, holds a lot of weight within that community.
So would you say that she represents him well?
Yes.
Exactly. So that's been my whole thing. You find someone as a man, you find someone who represents you well because that woman is an extension of you. And if you are a man and you're out providing for your woman, like you said, like the generals do, he's out due to the nature of his job. He's probably away. He's in high class meetings and everything. So the woman is going to be the visual representation of your family. And this is one of these things that I try to explain to women about. You will always have the power. If you are the visual representation of someone, you are the power. And a lot of women don't understand that because everything is going to be said. How did you raise the kids? How does she's doing this? You know what I'm saying? If she's volunteering, she's doing this here, she's doing everything. When you have someone, nobody can know you like your woman. A lot of people probably don't know you, Juan, but from the fact of how your wife speaks of you, they know of you. So when they meet you, you're the man she's been talking about. That's why they say, hey, so she talks so kindly about you. All she do is talks about you. She's representing you.
Yeah. Now, this could be a positive thing or a negative thing, depending on the person, but it also creates a bit of enviousness. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know if that's a word, but for the sake of this, we're going to go with it. But
Yeah.
they look at your relationships and then they start comparing their relationships to your relationship. Or
Mm-hmm.
going back to what you said earlier, right? The visual, you kind of create a visual of what a good, solid relationship looks like and what it
Yeah.
sounds like when you hear it coming from her. And then you hear it coming from her, then I show up and I am what she says that I am.
Yes.
And so then it's like the men are like, well, I need to do better. And the women are like, well, I need to get better. And understanding that I'm pretty sure when they see me, they're like, damn, he's short. Or they're thinking, well, he's not the most handsome guy. But then they get to know me, and they get to know me actually, and they're like, yo, he's solid.
Yeah.
And then I had one of her friends, well, they're not friends anymore, but one of her friends was like, yo, can you hook me up with some of your friends? And unfortunately, I had to tell her no, because that the men are in my circle would not mesh well with her for a litany of reasons why. You know, when you're of that caliber and she talks about you on that level, that's the kind of questions that you attract. And
Yes.
so I think that, going back to the original question that you had, I think that men have to do better about focusing on themselves so that they understand who they are, what they need, and then what they want,
Yeah.
so that they know what to look for in a woman that they're going to bring into their life. You know, being able to identify that this red flag, not a big deal, but this one could be extremely detrimental to our relationship. So I need to keep an eye on this going forward if I'm going to continue to entertain her. Because if this doesn't self-correct, then
Yeah.
I got to pull the plug because this relationship is not going to go anywhere.
Now, Juan, I got another question for you. Do we focus too much on red flags and not because and I'm not let me reword the question. Should we focus on green flags beside other and not focus on red flags? Because if she doesn't have green flags, we automatically know that those going to be red flags. If she don't have the green flags, we automatically know that this is not a good person for me. But it seems I see a lot of people go in looking for red flags to say, aha, see, yeah, or trying to search out for red flags, and you're not looking at the qualities that a person do have. So should there be more focus on trying to see green flags or still just say, hey, let me focus on the red flags? And if it's too many of them, it's an automatic no.
I think that's actually a good question. And here's the thing, you have to understand that everybody is going to have red flags and green flags, and understand that somebody's red flag may not be that big of a deal to you, whereas it may be a big deal to somebody else. This is why it's important to get to know yourself, right? Because it's a matter of what you can deal with and what you can't, right? The green flags, it takes a little bit more work
Yes.
because obviously a red flag is going to show up a lot quicker, and we're programmed to think negatively off the board, right?
Mhm.
And so it's going to require you to do a little bit of studying, right? And
Yeah.
a little bit of exercising both emotional intelligence and regular intelligence to be able to figure out and discover what the green flags are. And so it's going to come in the form of proper questioning. And here's a perfect example. If a guy doesn't open the door for a woman, it's a red flag. But if he doesn't open the door when you get in, but he opens the door when you get out, then there's a bit of inconsistency, which is a red flag. Those are easy things to spot. Are those date killers or relationship killers? Maybe, maybe not. Just depends on the person, right? But are you paying attention to how he talks to you? Are you paying attention to a green flag? How does he talk about his mother? It could be a potential red flag, but it could be also a potential green flag. Does he walk on the side of the road and force you inside of him? Does he
Ooh.
create space in between a dangerous situation and you? Dinner. Does he allow you to order first? Right? And these are some old school ones, but
So yeah, I was going to say that.
they're still prevalent to this day because it does show you the character of that individual.
Right.
You know, if he has children, how often does he talk to them? Do you ever hear about him spending time with them?
Yeah.
Right? How many different baby mamas do he has? So, for example, I have two kids by my ex-wife that I was married to for 11 years. I see them quite often. I talk to them quite often. They come visit me. I am a well-involved father. So, if you were dating me, what would that signal? That would signal that if you and I had children, and I ain't talking to you, pause. But if I was in a if I was if I was engaging with a woman and she was interested in me, that should tell her a couple of things: that I'm a good father, which means that I have some sort of emotional intelligence. How old are my kids? What's my relationship like with them? All of these things are green flag slash red flag indicators. But oftentimes we don't even get to looking at those type of things because you be like, oh, she's so cute. And she be like, oh, he's so handsome and he got all this money and blah blah blah. Like one of the red flags for women is, and I can guarantee you never think about this. Guys too. So I don't want to make it just one sex. But the more attractive a person is a red flag. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not saying that you don't go after an attractive person, but understand that depending on how much attention they get from the opposite sex, it could determine how faithful they are in a relationship.
You're
For
only as faithful as your options.
for men, right? The more attractive a man is, not to say that attractive men aren't faithful, but you have to understand that the more attractive he is, if he's been one who's been exercising his options, that red flag might be a blaring alarm. If you're the type of person who's looking for loyalty or looking for a monogamous relationship. Now, if you're just looking for something casual, it might just be one of those little itty bitty red flags that you just wave in like the toothpicks. So it just depends on what you're looking for. That's why it's important, whether you're a man or a woman, to understand who you are, what you need, and then what you want. Especially when you're looking for red flags or green flags.
Exactly.
Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah. Good sense. I was thinking along the same pattern. I was more aligned with, you know what I'm saying, the examples you gave. But one thing that I would say is that to add to that is when you go in expecting, because I believe because we talk about it and we see, TikTok videos and then red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. We are socially constructed now to go in only looking for red flags. So you're going into something already trying to tear it down when it should be the opposite. If you're going to get involved with someone, you should be looking to build, to grow. So if I'm on a first date with a young lady and I'm thinking to myself, I gotta go see if she has any red flags. Well, I'm searching for negative stuff. I'm not searching to find a positive or try to see if there could be a chance that we could get into something long term. But my mind has been wired to search for these red flags and not search for the so-called green flags or the common ground to where you and a person can have.
I think if you're going in searching for it, whether you're searching for green flags or red flags, excuse me, I think you're more likely to find a bunch of stuff that you don't necessarily want. And so everything and every little thing is gonna be a disqualifier. Whereas if you go into it just having your radar up, right? You know, it's like, the radar from a submarine. They're not looking for problems, but they keep it up just in case they identify a problem somewhere, right? And they can figure out how to effectively respond to that problem. So you go into things with your radar up, genuinely wanting to get to know somebody, and you're asking thoughtful, open-ended questions that allow them to speak freely and to tell you who they are, both by their actions and by their words. And so you get to know them, and then you, by proxy of that, you identify these things that you can work with or the things that you can't work with. And if the things that you can't work with, because you're never going to find somebody who's all green flags, and you're likely never going to find somebody who's all red flags. It's just like that 80-20 rule. You want to make sure that the most important things that are critical to you and having a relationship with you are a part of the 80%. And the things that don't really matter or that can elevate or that can change over time are a part of the 20%.
Exactly. You're right.
And I can see where people nowadays they're going in looking through a microscope looking for red flags, and it's just, you're never going to find someone because you're already going to be focusing in on the things that you're going to be disqualifying people just off of the things that are in the 20% and never even get to the point of recognizing the awesome person or the awesome things about that person, because you're going to already disqualify them off the rip.
Exactly.
Well, G, it's getting late. And
getting into it, baby. It was a good one today. It was a good combo today.
yeah. Hey, so let everybody know where they can find you.
Wise and Smart 22, always in there. So if I ever get back to work, y'all gonna see me upgrade my situation over here. I'm on a cell phone because I ain't got my money right now. But I've been talking with my guy Juan, and we're gonna probably try to set me up with me a little situation also. So have other places where you can get in touch with me too. I might even open up a TikTok account. I have sworn off TikTok from the first jump, and I said I would never ever get a TikTok. But hey, we might jump on the TikTok too. We might.
So that's Wise and Smart 22 on Instagram.
On Instagram, baby.
You got your Wednesday isms. Is there a particular time that you do those?
Well, they normally first thing in the morning when I was going to my government job. They'd be first thing in the morning. That's when we start the day out because I sit out. I get to work kind of early. I sit in my car, in my truck and record them. Well, you know what I'm saying? Now that I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I've gotten, they be dropping a little later because I'm just at home most of the time or till late in the afternoon. But I dropped it around 12 p.m. today, but they usually drop in the morning time. So when I get back to my regularly scheduled programming of going to work in the morning time, they'll be first thing in the morning.
All right. So that's Wise and Smart 22 on Instagram. And if you want to reach out to Big G on Instagram and jump in on one of his isms, make sure you hit him in his DM and let him know where you found him. And for myself, it's the Personal Alignment Lab on Instagram. That's the Personal Alignment Lab, all one word on Instagram. You could also reach out to me through my website, www.personalalignmentlab.com. That's personalalignmentlab.com. And also, if you haven't had a chance, check out my book available on Amazon, Aligned Love, the Modern Guide to Finding and Building Fulfilling Relationships. This is meant to be a tool and a guide for single individuals, people dating, people coming out of relationships, looking to get back into the dating space. It's got some tools, some guides, some educational information, and also some exercises for you to do in each chapter so that you can better set yourself up for finding a fulfilling relationship. With that being said, Big G, it's been fun, man. And
Awesome.
looking forward to our next conversation next week.
Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, and by the way, shout out to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. Last week we were at about 250. This week we are fastly approaching 500 subscribers. And I think once we get to 500 subscribers, we will start going live on YouTube so that we can get some engagement while we're live. And so that'll give people an opportunity to ask us some questions if they want to.
Roger that.
All right. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share this video so that we can educate the masses on how to better themselves in relationships. Big G, Juanito, signing off. Have a good night.
Have a good one, guys.